Are you constantly giving, always saying yes and feeling drained by the end of the day? It's time to reclaim your peace. In this deeply reflective video, a wise man shares timeless lessons on the art of setting boundaries with kindness, clarity, and inner strength. Learn how to say no without guilt. Reconnect with your priorities. Comment below. What's one boundary you need to set starting today? If this message speaks to you, like the video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe for weekly life wisdom. There comes a moment in every life when you realize this truth. Not everything deserves your time. Not every call deserves to be answered. Not every demand deserves a yes. And not every person should have full access to your heart. You see, one of the greatest acts of self-respect is learning how to set a boundary. But the word boundary is often misunderstood. Some hear it and think walls, rejection, coldness. But true boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about choosing what you let in. They're not a punishment. They're a preservation of your peace, of your purpose, of your energy. Let me take you back in time. Years ago, I used to say yes to everything. Every favor, every invitation, every conversation that pulled me away from my priorities. I thought being available meant being kind. I thought sacrificing my needs was noble. But then something happened. I burned out, quietly, slowly, until one day I woke up exhausted, not just in my body, but in my spirit. And I realized you can't pour from an empty cup, and you're not selfish for needing to protect it. Boundary number 1, your time is sacred. You only get 24 hours each day. That's it. You don't get a refund. You don't get rollover minutes. So the question is, who and what is worth those hours? Not everything that's urgent is important. Not every opportunity is aligned. Not every conversation is necessary. You're allowed to say, I can't today. You'll need to wait. That doesn't work for me. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that does. Boundary number 2, emotional boundaries. Protecting your peace. Some people are kind, loving, nourishing. Others, they drain your spirit, not because they're bad, but because they cross lines you haven't clearly drawn. Maybe it's the friend who only calls when they need something. Maybe it's the family member who dismisses your feelings, or the coworker who unloads their problems and leaves you carrying them. You can love someone and still not let them trample your inner calm. You can care without carrying. It's okay to say, I'm not in a place to talk about this right now. I need space to process. I'm here for you, but I can't take this on. Wise man, people treat you how you teach them to. And if you always tolerate being drained, ignored, or pushed, they'll keep doing it. But when you begin to stand gently but firmly in your truth, something powerful happens. You stop shrinking. You stop bending yourself in half to keep the peace, and you start living from a place of wholeness. Boundary number 3, say no without explaining everything. We often believe we need to justify our boundaries, to give long explanations, to seek permission. But here's the truth. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a long story. You don't need to feel guilty for protecting your peace. A quiet, honest no spoken with love is stronger than a loud yes spoken with resentment. I remember once being invited to an event I didn't want to attend. I was tired. My spirit needed rest. But I kept thinking, they'll be disappointed if I don't go. And then I realized, if someone's love depends on my exhaustion, it's not love, it's expectation. So I said no, and the world didn't end. I felt lighter, freer, stronger. Boundary number 4, digital boundaries in a noisy world. Your phone doesn't have to control your day. Your inbox is not your boss. You are not required to be available to everyone all the time. Schedule time to unplug. Turn off notifications. Let yourself breathe without the need to respond right away. Give yourself silence, because in that silence, you return to yourself. Wise man pauses by a lake, looking out at the still water. Let me remind you of something. You are not a resource to be used up. You are a soul to be cherished. And part of self-love is protecting that soul from constant depletion. You teach people how to love you by how you love yourself. And loving yourself means knowing where you end and where someone else begins. Boundary number 5, boundaries with yourself. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with ourselves. The boundary between work and rest. The boundary between scrolling endlessly and being present. The boundary between who you were and who you want to become. Discipline is a boundary. Self-respect is a boundary. Saying, I'll stop here, even when no one's watching. That is strength. So today, ask yourself, what drains me? What restores me? Who respects my boundaries? And who constantly tests them? Start small. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Just take one step, say one honest no. Take one quiet moment for yourself. Redraw one line where you've let the world blur your peace. Boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. They don't keep love out. They keep resentment out. They don't block people away. They invite the right people closer, those who respect your space and honor your soul. So protect your time, honor your energy, and remember, you are worthy of a life that feels whole, calm, and true to who you really are. There's one more thing I want you to remember. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. Some may feel hurt. Some may accuse you of changing. And in truth, you are. You are evolving. You are choosing yourself. And that can be uncomfortable for those who benefited from your lack of limits. But here's the truth, my friend. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need to understand yourself and honor what you find. You see, for most of my life, I was a people pleaser. I smiled when I wanted to speak up. I agreed when I wanted to walk away. I stayed silent to keep the peace, not realizing I was starting a war inside myself. And eventually I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize who I had become. Not because I was fake, but because I had been edited by the expectations of others. Boundaries don't disconnect us. They define us. They help us show up in relationships as our true selves. Not as a filtered version shaped by guilt or fear. When you know your limits, you give people the chance to love the real you, not the overextended you, not the performative you, not the constantly agreeable you, the true you, and you give yourself the same gift, the dignity of living a life aligned with your truth. Let me ask you this. How often do you cancel on yourself? You make plans to rest and then push it aside for someone else's urgency. You promise yourself time to create, to reflect, to just be, and then hand that time away like it doesn't matter. But it does matter, because your time, Jerome, is your life. And you're not just protecting your calendar, you're protecting your soul's rhythm. So set those gentle boundaries. Turn your phone off for an hour. Say not today without guilt. Choose stillness without apology. And here's something no one tells you. Peace feels awkward at first, especially if you've lived in chaos, especially if you're used to overcommitting, over-explaining, overdoing. At first, quiet might feel strange. Stillness might feel selfish, but give it time, because in that space, you begin to hear yourself again. And that voice inside, the one that whispers your deepest truth, it has been waiting for you. So if there's one boundary you've been afraid to draw, let this be your sign to draw it. With love, with grace, but with firmness. You don't have to justify your need for peace. You don't have to explain your need for rest. And you are not unkind for wanting to be whole. Let people be uncomfortable with your growth. Let them adjust to the new, healthier version of you. Because the truth is, your life is not meant to be lived on other people's terms. It's meant to be shaped by your own quiet knowing. So protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is.